My name is Robin Bennett. I am one of the co-founders of the Dog Gurus. Susan Briggs over there on the other screen. She's the other co-founder. And the Dog Gurus is a business consulting and staff training company. We help pet care businesses launch, grow, and profit. So if you need help growing your business or opening your business or have questions about how to do any of those things, we're happy to help with some of our online programs. And then we also have staff training programs if you need help getting your staff trained to operate your business and hopefully get you some free time or at least time to work on your business, one or the other. Anyway, we're glad that you guys are here. We're going to talk today about key performance indicators. And this is one of Susan's favorite topics because we're all about data. And I'll start by saying I did not start out as much of a data geek as I am now, but I will also say that once you start to see the beauty of what the data can tell you and how it helps you to make decisions, you will start to become a nerd as well on all the data. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is understanding what metrics to track is the best way to make decisions because we all struggle with, should I do this? Should I do that? What's the priority? What should I do first? All the metrics that you can track will answer all those questions for you. It takes the guesswork out of everything. So we are huge believers in key performance metrics, which is what KPI stands for. And I'll toss it to Susan if you want to start with some of your favorite ones.
Yeah, I like for your key performance indicators and metrics to align with what your business goals are, but I think there are some that just are industry standards that everybody should measure for their pet business. So I'm going to start with profit percentage because most of all of us are in business to make a profit. And so I think that profit percentage versus looking at the dollars that are in your P&L is a great one to overall see where your business is as far as being a profitable business. And then probably my second favorite, because it's a one to track that will help you increase your profit percentage, is your payroll as a percentage of revenue, because we know that is one in our industry that people often struggle with. So those are my top two.
Do you want to give a quick explanation or formula for those two,
Mm.
Susan, just for people that maybe haven't tracked those before?
Yeah, that's
And I was going to expect that we're going to hear people asking for what they should shoot for, like what goals are good for
numbers.
those.
Okay. So yeah, well, your profit percentage, if you have your income statement or profit and loss report, you take that profit that I would say is your operating profit. So it's all the revenue from your business operations less all your operating expenses. You might not include interest, depreciation, amortization, those types of expenses. So your operating profit and divide that by revenue will give you your profit percentage. And we say you should shoot for 20% if you're a multi-service pet care business, kind of offering lodging, daycare, grooming, or training, which is what most of our members do. 20% is that benchmark goal to hit. And then as your revenues increase, you can get above that. But we know from talking to companies that are buying businesses or helping to facilitate sale of businesses that 20% profit is a keystone target that they like to see.
Yeah, and I do think ultimately we talk a lot about breaking out your revenue streams. And you will find that if you do that, and if you have never done any of this, just start with combining it all and just figuring out a few key metrics. But you will find that things like private training has a much higher profit percentage. Daycare typically has a lower profit percentage. So that's why if you're multi-service, shoot for 20%. And that would be a good goal. If you get into more detail and you start breaking those things out, you might find that there's higher or lower depending on the service as well.
Absolutely. So then the payroll is a percentage of revenue. Again, I would go to your profit and loss statement and just add up all your payroll related costs. So that's the wages that you pay for both salary and hourly. It's the cost of benefits, the taxes that you pay. I even would include recruiting costs in there. I think everything that relates to paying your team is added in there, and then you divide that by your total revenue. And that number we want to be 50% or less. And the closer you can get to 40, the better. But again, that can be challenging depending on your mix of services. So start with 50% or less. And if you're not at 50%, then that's a great measure to track so you can see if you can get there.
And typically that KPI would not include the owner pay. So you have to take your own pay out if you're the business owner out of that factor. If you happen to be working in the business though, remember that you are taking somebody's role that is not getting paid because you're doing it and your pay is not included. So if you're like, well, I'm only at 30%, but you're in there working like 80 hours a week, then calculate what it would cost to replace you too, because that's the percentage you want to really look at. And the goal should be to have a full staff so that you don't have to do as much and you can actually work on your business. We find that most businesses, when they've come to the Dog Gurus, and we start doing number calculations with them, we find that most businesses are over 50%. So if you are higher than 50 when the first time you do this, don't be too discouraged because that actually is where most people are. And you're probably also, if you're in that category, you're probably also feeling really stretched thin. You're probably finding it hard to pay yourself what you think you're worth and to make sure that you're able to do everything at your business that you want to do. So don't be discouraged. Just know that's one way you're going to see that things get better is if you can reduce that profit percentage. And part of that is just making sure your pricing is correct. So making sure that you have priced yourself to actually make a profit. And the other is to make sure that you're staffing properly and you're not overstaffed. And a lot of times it's a combination of those two things that's causing that to be too high. But it's definitely, if you've never looked at it before, it's definitely a number worth looking at. So I will talk about a couple of my favorites. Most of mine are marketing related. So people ask me all the time, where should I spend my marketing dollar? And what should I do with this? And how much should I spend on that? Or they'll just tell me they've tried something and it didn't work, so they don't do it anymore. So if you're not tracking, most people, when I say, what have you tried and how do you know it didn't work? They don't really have any data to give me. They'll just be like, well, we ran an ad for a month and we didn't get any sales or whatever. And that's not necessarily all that you should be tracking. Obviously, sales is one of the metrics I would look at, but depending on what your ad is designed to do, that might not even be a metric you care about. So I'll explain what I mean in a second. But some of the things that we look at, one is whether you're running an ad or an email, is how many people are actually seeing it. So with emails, that's how many people are opening it. That's your open rate. On average, most businesses who do email marketing at all get an open rate of around 15 to 20%. The Dog Gurus, we actually get 45% open rate. And the reason for that, so when people tell me, don't try email marketing, it doesn't work, only 15% of your people open it. Number one, 15% is still good. That's actually good in the email marketing scheme of things. So if you're getting 15% of your people looking at your stuff, that's still good. But then they'll go, how do you guys get so much more? Because our open rate's about 45%. And it's because we're consistently providing emails and providing free content to people. So there has to be a system in place. You can't just send one email and then go, that didn't work, we're never doing it again. It's creating a whole email system that's going to help you to contact your new clients or prospective clients that haven't done business with you, give them value, which is a part that a lot of people miss. That's a whole nother topic we could do a Facebook Live on. Give them value and then offer a service to them to hopefully they do some business with you. But it's a whole system. So you have to look at that. But if you are at least getting 15 to 20% opening your emails, that's still good. The second thing in terms of emails is how many are clicking through whatever you've asked them to do in the email. And that is where you want it to be 5%, anywhere from 5 to 10% of a click-through rate. Here's the challenge with most people that are doing email marketing is they'll have 5, 6, 7 things for the person to click on in their email. So the click rate, you can't really tell unless you have a system that tracks every single thing you've set up as a click. But what works better is to have an email that's very targeted that says, this is your call to action. There's one call to action. There's not 10 calls to action because if there's 10 calls to action, you're not going to get consistency on anything. So setting up an email where the call to action is whether it's to download something or you're giving them something free or you're asking them to make a reservation or come in for a tour or call you or whatever it is, one call to action. And then if you can get 5% of those people taking that call to action, that's really good. But you have to track some of those metrics within Facebook. If you're running Facebook ads, for instance, you can see those similar metrics. You can see how many people are seeing your ad, how many people are clicking on your ad, and you want to track those the same way. So until you can give me metrics like that, nobody can really tell you what the best marketing avenue is. So when we run a Facebook ad, we're looking at it every month to decide how many people saw it, how many people opened it, how many new emails did we get, or whatever the goal of the campaign was. And then over time, we look to see which one does the best and do more of that one. That's really the secret to figuring out the best marketing strategy for your business, is to track the metrics, not just to say we did it, it didn't work, because you have to know why it didn't work, or you have to be able to test a few things to figure out why it might not have worked. So hopefully that made sense.
I think it does. And I think it goes back to, what is your goal for your business or your marketing or either one of those? And then, as you said, determining the data that's going to tell you how you're progressing towards that goal. Because if you don't, like you said, people say it doesn't work. Well, did not enough people see it or open, or is it not clicking through? Those are two different problems to solve.
Exactly.
Just like your profit percentage is too low. If your profit percentage is too low and your payroll to revenue is, 40%, then there may be a different issue. Maybe it's a pricing or a volume issue versus payroll's too high. And so that's why I think both of us have become data geeks, is because once what your goal is, or if you're not achieving it, you've got to break down to find out what part of the system isn't working.
Yeah, and some really simple things that, in terms of the marketing, I'll go back to what you just said a second ago. I've talked to a lot of people regarding their marketing in the past, I will say 10 months or so. And most people, when we talk about marketing, most people assume that you're talking about getting new clients. And
Hmm.
that is a part of marketing. Getting leads or generating prospective clients for your business is definitely part of marketing. But when I've been talking to people, most of them are short staffed. So then I say, then why are you trying to get new clients? Because you don't have the staff for them. And I'm not saying you should not do any kind of outreach to get new clients. I wouldn't necessarily spend a ton of money if you can't handle them on the other end. Let's say your marketing really works and all these people are like, woo, we want to come to your business, but you don't have the staff and now they end up on a wait list. Then I wouldn't spend money on that particular part of the marketing wheel because you don't have the staff to handle them. But maybe you still need more money. So I would be looking at making more money from your current clients. So I would set about doing some marketing where you're trying to upsell things or to your current clients or get them to do services they aren't using. So that all goes back to, what are your goals? So if you want to figure out, like, what should I do for marketing, the first question you have to answer is, what's the goal you're trying to reach? Or just like Susan said, are you trying to get new clients and you have the staff to handle them? Are you trying to get more money from the current clients that you already have? Are you trying to increase one of your service options? Maybe you have daycare, boarding, and training, and you don't have very many training clients, so you want to increase your training. Like, all of those are different things, and you have to decide what your goal is in order to know what metrics you should track and where you should spend your money on those.
Which you just alluded to the two that I had written down that we hadn't talked about yet, and both of them apply to what you just said. So it's like,
Awesome.
woo,
We didn't even plan that.
we didn't plan that. So the first one is revenue per pet, which is what you said, selling more to existing clients. So you take your total revenue and divide it by the number of pets serviced. And that's where you can see if you do more upsells or cross-selling, that you can increase that revenue per pet. So you can do that for the company overall, or you can do it by service. And then the other one, and the revenue per pet, I don't think is really an industry number because it really depends on your services and pricing. So that's one where I would see where I am and then set goals to increase from where you are every quarter and year. And then the other one, when you talked about are there services that you want to put more marketing towards because you don't have as many clients there as you want, goes back to measuring occupancy by service. And that's something when I first got into the industry, that's what we all focused on as far as data metrics. And it seems like we've gotten away from it, but it's one of my favorite ones because, like you said, if you're at 100% occupancy and a wait list for daycare, why are you putting any energy towards that? If you've got 40% occupancy in grooming, then let's boost that. So knowing your occupancy by service, I think is really important to know where you have opportunities, and you may have opportunities without adding staff or other costs. And so knowing your occupancy by service is important. And again, the way you would calculate that is how many visits can you take during a day? So like groom appointments, how many appointments can your groomer do? And it may even be time slots because some dogs take more than one time slot depending on what they are. But let's say you had 10 time slots and you only had 4 dogs, that would be a 40% occupancy. And you've just lost the opportunity to sell those other 6. And so you've got to think about your capacity as inventory, and it's lost inventory if you don't sell it.
Yeah, and I will challenge because a lot of people, when they market their business, they market their whole business. Meaning, and I used to do this too. So I'll tell you, this is a thing I learned while I was marketing my own business is I would just market my business and I'm like, here's all the things we do. We do everything. We do training and daycare and boarding and grooming, and that's great. I think every now and then there should be something out there that says, here's your company and here's everything you do. However, when you are marketing and trying, but based on what Susan just said, where you're looking at your occupancy, don't go out there with a we do everything. Go out there, if you're trying to get more grooming clients, go out there with a very targeted we do grooming ad and all the benefits and why they should choose you for grooming. And then, the call to action to schedule an appointment or come in or whatever. Same thing if you want to fill daycare. Do ads that are only daycare focused or emails. It doesn't have to be necessarily be a paid ad. Post on your social media just about the daycare or just about enrichment or just about boarding. So don't feel like every time you market your business, it has to be the we do everything type of model of a marketing campaign. Because I think a lot of people miss opportunity because people just look at that and go, I don't need any of those right now. But when you talk really specifically about, hey, Christmas is coming up and maybe your dog's nails might scratch the nice clothes that you're going to wear when you go out for holiday parties. So maybe you could bring your dog in for a nail trim or get your dog spruced up for the holidays, just like you. That's going to speak more to people who really might not be thinking about it right now until they see that email or that ad or whatever. The other thing I wanted to mention, going back to what you just talked about, Susan, that whole revenue per pet thing,
Mhm.
people do the numbers on this because that's revenue per pet. When I first started learning about that, I was okay, whatever. But this is the whole, do you want fries with that they do at fast food restaurants? If you have, I was doing math while Susan was talking a minute ago. If you have a revenue per pet of $50, so on average, a dog comes in and they spend $50 with you. And let's just say you have 500 of those dogs a month. So you're making 500 times 50, which is $25,000 a month. If you just can get people to pay $5 more for whatever service, you upsell something, you offer something for them to take home, you offer them something, a special treat while they're there, but you can get that client to spend $5 more and you increase your revenue to pet to $55, that's an extra $2,500 a month,
Yeah.
which is an extra $3,000, $30,000 a year. Do the numbers of just, oh, if I just even sell like a $2 thing, because how much are French fries? They're not that much. They're like more expensive now than they used to be. But when I worked at Hardee's years ago, they were like 65 cents or something. And my manager used to tell us that upsell to every single person, because if only 10% of them buy, we'll make X amount more just with 65 cents for every client that comes in. So really that do the math on that because you can make a lot of money just by simple upsell of something like that.
And for each client, an additional $2 to $5 is not much. It's 10% of what they're spending already. But for you as a business owner, an extra $30,000 a year is huge. I could pay for increases for all your staff and a lot of things. Yeah, that's great. Good math.
Yeah, I love to mess with that because like my challenge always to people is just try it. And Lori Davis, who we work with a lot, who does sales stuff, she says that 20% of your clients always are willing to pay for more of something.
Mm,
So even if you do that math and you're like, okay, maybe not everybody's going to buy something. I'm sure everybody's not going to buy whatever it is that you're selling or offering or upselling or whatever. But even if 20% do, that's still a significant amount of money if you can get 20% of people to do it. And it doesn't mean you have to sell it every single time they come in. It might be just once a month you have some kind of special activity where they can purchase an additional thing when they come in that month. So it's not every single time they come in, you're going to necessarily upsell something to them. But I think right now with all the parties and holiday, what am I trying to say, products out there, it's an easy sell. Get some of those products and sell them to your clients or some of those treats or whatever. I know I
yeah,
just
I mean, doing the events with pictures, we talked about that at one because you said start the holiday photos way back in October. I think you told them to start. A lot of those are good upsells. Holiday meals, I saw a lot of those being advertised around Thanksgiving on social media. So there's definitely easy things that you can do, and you don't have to stop when the holidays are over. We did theme kind of special treats every month and just rotated flavors to keep it fresh.
Yeah, and the holiday meals, I just have to say, I might have said this before. I can't remember who I was just telling this to, but those holiday meals where typically it's an upsell to the boarding clients that are coming in for lodging, which I think is great. But I saw a person do it to everybody. Like they've announced that they were doing this holiday meal. So obviously the lodging dogs that were going to be there over the holidays got the opportunity to buy it. But then they sold like a ton to clients who weren't even going to lodge. They just had a pickup day. They had a pre-order so that they had time to make them. And then they had a pickup day, which was for Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving, and they could come and pick it up. So they sold a ton of them to people that weren't even lodging, which I thought was brilliant.
And
Because like in my head, that has always been like a lodging thing. And then I was like, why not? Why shouldn't the rest of your clients get offered that opportunity? It's no, like all they have to do is say no, but you could sell
yeah,
more
some states though, you got to be careful.
of what food you're sending.
Yes, it's selling. Yeah, because we had that too, and it was like you didn't buy it from me.
Exactly. Carrie said secret Santas to your dog play
Oh,
group pals in daycare. That's a
how
fun one
fun!
too. Yeah, that's a lot of fun. So the secret to all of this, and even when you're doing these special events or activities, is tracking how many did you sell and was it worth the time and effort so that you know whether or not to do it next year. So just really looking at what are some of the metrics that you need to be tracking for your business. And we could give you like a whole huge list of them, but we wanted to start out with a few of them. If you have other ones that you really, you can post those in the comments. We also do have a KPI workbook, which I'm going to put the link to in the comments, that walks you through a whole bunch of other KPIs as well. I think the biggest thing that we want to stress is that we don't find a lot of businesses that really pay a lot of attention to on a regular basis. And the more you do, it's that old saying of whatever you track improves because you're paying attention to it and because it gives you the data you need to know in order to make decisions. So all the decisions that right now, as you're looking into planning for next year, and you're trying to decide, should I increase my staff salary and what should that increase be? And we've had calls from people, what's the cost of living? And because cost of living right now is 8 point something. I just looked it up the other day. And should I be increasing my staff salary 8 point something percent? Because that's a lot. And how do I do that? And how am I going to get there? If you have this data, you're going to be able to answer those questions a lot easier than just trying to answer them based on whatever your gut is saying. And that's one of the biggest reasons that we're just huge proponents of tracking anything you can track. But I will say it can get overwhelming and you can also track too much because I'm guilty of that too. So making sure that whatever you're tracking, Susan and I kind of now ask ourselves when we're like, we should track this number. We ask ourselves, are we going to use it for anything? Because if we're not going to use it for anything, then to me, it's just wasted time. It might be a really fun number to know, but if I'm not going to use it for anything, it's not worth tracking Because even something like, I don't even track Facebook, what we call vanity figures, like how many followers or fans do I have on Facebook or Instagram. I don't track those because it's irrelevant to me. It doesn't tie to anything that I actually can influence. Can I influence getting more followers? Yes, but that doesn't track back to anything that we're doing at the Dog Gurus in terms of anything. It helps for brand awareness, so I'm not going to discount that, but it doesn't tie specifically to us selling something or engaging with somebody or whatever. So you have to really make sure that whatever you're tracking is something, number one, that you can influence, and number two, that's something meaningful to you to help you make decisions going forward. Because that's the point. That's really the point of tracking it. It's not just tracking stuff to track stuff. And you can get paralyzed by too much data too. So I'll say that as well.